Good afternoon, everybody. I'm thrilled to be your host for this session, The Future of Happiness. I'm Janvi. I'm a 19-year-old from India, and I'm currently traveling the world for my education. I'm one of those people that get to be on that ship tomorrow. I come from a lower middle-class family in India, and my parents have never made me lack anything that I've needed, and they've always taught me to dream big. Now, one of those dreams was always to be on a ship, so hey, I guess dreams do come true. And I live a charmed life. No, really, objectively, I live a really charmed life. I am a completely financially independent 19-year-old living a better life than my parents lived when they were 19. I am traveling the world for education. Every 4 months, I move to a different country, and I move with these incredible and brilliant people and compassionate people that I truly love. I am learning and doing everything that I've always wanted to do, and I'm doing things that I didn't even know I wanted to do. So trust me, it is a blessed and charmed life, really. And yet, over the last year and a half, I have been severely depressed. At one point, I was suicidal. I have been frustrated and angry at myself for being unhappy despite having everything I need and want. And I've been looking for answers wherever I can. I've asked all the people I love, and I've been told to look in different places. Some said look for happiness in retail therapy. Some said look for happiness in purpose, in finding your purpose. A lot of people reinforced that whole finding purpose thing. Some said travel some more. Some said go to like a luxury spa. Let me assure you, I did not find happiness while I was still looking. I'm still looking. And I look around people at me with a lot of envy right now, because to me, they look happy and they look like they have everything they want, and I'm like, well, I also have everything I want, why am I still not happy? And then I realize that's probably something everybody else around me is asking. Is it? The people we're about to hear from now have also looked. But they've looked outside, above, and beyond everything and everywhere that you and I have. They've looked beyond everything we know as normal. They have pulled everything that we think is absolutely acceptable and questioned its existence. They've toppled the rules that govern us, and they've proved that what we think is necessary is completely unnecessary. Did they find happiness? We'll find out. But I'm going to urge you to do one thing now. Ask yourself this when you're listening to them. When was the last time you looked for happiness? When was the last time happiness found you? What does happiness mean to you? What does it mean to the human on your right? What does it mean to the human on your left? And what does it really mean? What does happiness mean to all of us as a human collective? What can it mean? So let's dive in. First up, we're hearing from Laura Storm. Laura is the founder of Regenerator, a pioneering collective focused on aiding the transformation to a world where our products, cities, workplaces, and life is designed in accordance with nature's regenerative principles. Laura's been working on sustainability for the last 15 years, asking the very questions she'll be forcing us to ask today. What is the root of our unhappiness and crises today? Why are all our systems, political, cultural, economic, financial, why are they all built to make us pressure cookers? And how can we change that? What could happen if we tried changing that? Let's hear from Laura Storm.
Thank you. So, thank you so much. What a lovely introduction. So I will try to answer those questions by starting to look a bit from a distance on the planet that we all call our home. So the planet that we live on is 4.6 billion years old. And that's quite hard to grasp for our human minds. So let's make it a bit more relatable to us, because I would like to take us on a journey back in time, because that's incredibly important when we want to understand where we are right now. So let's call the planet Gaia, and we will refer to her as a 46-year-old woman. So, Gaia started a billion years ago, and the first life was created 38 years ago. when the first molecules grouped into cells and formed the first strands of DNA. And that DNA in the first living cells is the same DNA that we have in us today. So in a way, we are all related with everything that is alive on this planet. So constantly, Gaia was transforming and emerging and evolving new life forms. She created crabs and corals and worms and jellyfish, and the first fish with a backbone. This is an image of the very first fish, and that fish had a backbone just like we have today. So the fish went on land and started to create life on land only 4 years ago. And again, constantly nature was testing out new life forms by trial and error. Some things were not succeeding, others did. Life flourished continuously. Dinosaurs was here 2 years ago. The great apes were here 3 months ago. And then, only 2 days ago, we came around. And that's not a long time that we have been on this planet as a species. And for the majority of the time that we have been here, for 50,000 generations of passing on evolution to the next generation, we lived completely in tune with nature. For 200,000 years, we lived as hunter-gatherers, moving around, just completely in tune with nature. Our nervous system was primarily developed in those 200,000 years. So we developed a sense to constantly detect danger. We understood what plants we could eat, which ones to leave aside. We developed plant medicines. We worshiped nature as if it was our God. But then something happened 2 years ago, or 2 seconds ago. We had moved into bigger and bigger villages, and we had become quite obsessed with wanting to control nature, because we wanted to grow larger and larger crops, and we wanted to own things. And this obsession with controlling nature was very much supported by the scientific revolution at the time. So the object of knowledge is to control nature, because nature in itself has no purpose. And everything was used to subtract that knowledge of nature. And because women were seen as being more in tune with nature, understanding how to work with plants, they were suddenly seen as the work of the devil. And during a very, very long period of 80 years of extremely cold and long winters and long summers where crops were failing, people became desperate. And they were looking for a culprit. And because they really couldn't do much to nature that was seen as being collaborating with the devil, nature was, or women were seen as the culprit. And that started a 200-year-long witch hunt. The Pope issued an executive order demanding that all women had to be interrogated so that we could subtract that knowledge and so that we could murder and torture those who were collaborating with the devil. And in my opinion, that's incredibly important for us to understand when we think about the life on Earth that our species have created. Because with this mindset that women and nature had to be suppressed, feared, controlled, dominated, we entered the Industrial Revolution 60 seconds ago. So we developed planes and corporate structure and nation states and cars and planes in a way that, in my opinion, created an incredibly rigid, linear, mechanistic, to some extent soul-starving, fear-based, hyper-masculine world. Because we had separated ourselves from our other half, because we both have feminine and masculine qualities in us, but we had also separated us from our habitat. We had separated us completely from nature. So So today we go to work in concrete buildings, sitting in cubicles. Really, we have locked our species up in a collective prison. We soon have more plastic in our ocean than marine life. We have destroyed most of the lungs of the planet. Our soil is depleted from critical nutrients and minerals. Our water and rivers are polluted. But this is a session about happiness, right? So I'm going to stop here. So let's zoom in on whether we at least are happy. Have we used our supreme intelligence to create a lifestyle where we actually feel happy? No. Not if we're looking towards statistics. Depression, mental illness, stress, and burnout are all increasing rapidly each year. And the funny thing is that all those problems that I just highlighted, we seem to think that we should just organize a summit with a bunch of old men and discuss technology, policy, and finance, and that will solve things. And to me, that is the definition of insanity, which is why I love FutureTalks, by the way. Okay, so what do we do about this, and what is really my proposal? My proposal is to rely on nature's billion years of R&D in the way that we design a thriving way of living on this planet. So let's zoom in on the living systems in nature and let them serve as our design guide when we are building a new thriving paradigm where all living beings can actually thrive and flourish. So in Regenerators, we work on the 3 levels of learning from nature. And all of those 3 levels has to work together. You can't have one without the other. So the first is design. How do we actually design products and services in a way that is tuning in with the living systems of life? And we have so many amazing tools at our disposal. For example, biomimicry. Nature has, seriously guys, a solution to every problem. Velcro or the shark skin that has antibacterial surfaces, which is now being used as a surface in hospitals to avoid bacteria to grow, or the dirt repellent surface of a lotus flower, the shapes of birds that could be used in planes. I could go on and on, but this is not a biomimicry session, but it's amazing what tools nature has available. The circular economy, that notion that everything has to be fed into the system constantly, that everything has a value. And I tried to think of what is the most disgusting value or waste that I could think of. Fish waste. But actually, a company on Iceland is now taking leftovers from the fish factories on Iceland to produce beautifully looking luxury goods, leather goods, called Atlantic leather. Anyways, there are so many examples of companies now making a lot of money while adding value to our systems. Sharing economy. Let's not all have basements and attics that look like this. We can use technology to share our stuff. Kingfisher, the power drill company, and they do a lot more than power drills, but we only use our power drills for 12 minutes in its lifetime. That's insane. Let's share stuff. When we live in cities, it's easy. Let's do that more. And the third level is, or second level, is how we can zoom in on how nature actually organizes. And how can we move away from this rigid hierarchical structure that is dominating most organizations, where we just kind of become corporate soldiers, instead of untapping that ingenuity and that sense of purpose and that creativity that we all have inside. I'll give a few examples. For example, beehives and ant colonies can so quickly organize if something comes up. For example, they tap in to the superorganism's collective intelligence by simple rules and feedback loops. So if an anthill, for example, is being overflown with water very quickly they can group together and wash down the river and create a new anthill. Just by simple means of communication, they constantly know where each others are. They work in teams of 3. One is sort of like the outgoing leader, and the 2 others are followers. And they can group together with other teams. The same with bees, they work in teams of 3. So there's a superorganism consists of so many amazing hubs that each have an intelligence, each have a sensor and a radar where they can detect danger and opportunities. We could use the same principles. And think about that the next time actually you kill an ant. How does the 2 bodies feel like? In the forest, when you go for a walk there, underneath is an amazing wood wide web that is a fungi attached to the roots. It's an impressive communication system that can communicate hundreds of kilometers away. So in the forest, if there's a part of the forest that is lacking nutrients, it can communicate to the other part of the forest to transport nutrients. Or if there's a weak tree, the gathering neighbor trees make sure that that weak tree gets all the nutrients it needs. The mother tree supports its kids through this mycelium, which is also called, because they can't reach up to the sun. So a forest is an incredible interconnected system of collaboration. If you think that I'm talking gibberish, there's actually a lot of companies out there that are employing these mechanisms and principles. One is Buurtzorg, an amazing Dutch company that started with a few nurses that were just fed up with having to be on this rigid time schedule. They were in this sector because they wanted to provide care. They wanted to do things their own way. So they created Buurtzorg, which is organized. It's 14,000 nurses now, but it's in hubs of 10 to 12 people where they decide themselves how many hours they want to work, what their roles are. And it has meant that they have lowered the care needed by 40%, and they are way out competing their competitors because they are organized like a superorganism. They can constantly detect if an elderly needs care, so they can set in with help and detect a problem before it becomes huge. So keep that in mind, that we can actually organize in a way where we tap into people's purpose and potential, and where we collaborate in a new way that is not hierarchical and not fear-based. It has to go hand in hand with the 3rd level of learning from nature, which is living systems being. Because if we don't start with ourselves and connect to other people and to our life from the heart space, it will just be fixing things at the surface levels, and you will have a Biocon Valley and people getting all excited about using the technology intelligence from nature. Instead, we need to collectively nourish our ability to listen to life, listen to our own inner human nature, because we are nature, we come from nature. And thankfully, the past couple of years, science has now catched up with us and is proven that it improves our mood, lowers our stress, lowers cortisol levels. It improves our creative problem-solving skills when we are in nature. So another way we can embrace a living systems being is by recognizing that we cannot be in spring and summer all the time. We need to make sure that we recharge and that we also go through an autumn and a winter. And I'm not just talking about seasons, I'm talking about the day as well. You need time to just recharge and regenerate in order for you to be a living systems being that can tap in to what is actually going on in your surroundings. You need to celebrate that you have both elements in you, that you don't forget about your more creative, compassionate sides as well when you go about your everyday life. So this is what I think are pillars of a new regenerative paradigm. I believe we have all the solutions there, but we need to be aware that we all play a role in this giant web of life. And we need to dare tune in on what that role is. And we need to dare ask ourselves the question whether, am I a regenerator, or am I just by my actions? Because every day we contribute to the paradigm or to the life that we have. Am I supporting through the things that I buy, the work that I have, what I do, the food that I eat, to a new thriving paradigm or to a destructive paradigm? The final thing I would like to leave you with is a really good news. For us to change, because we are a superorganism as well, it only takes 11% for us to shift the direction. We know that from science, from studying superorganism, that every time a swarm is changing its behavior or a beehive is, it only takes 11% to change the direction. So I really do think that we can make this change happen so that we can all enjoy our life as a species living on this planet. If not, we will be washed aside. We have only been here for such a short time. We will just be destroyed, and Gaia will move on with her life. So the way that we will conclude this session is for all of you to just close your eyes. And before you do that, look at this question and reflect on what will be your role in our evolutionary collective legacy. And when we close our eyes, we can go inward and we minimize 80% of our input. So just be with each other, be with yourself for a minute. I will take time, don't worry. And think about, what is your role in making sure we reach the 11%? Now take a deep breath into your nose and breathe out through your mouth. And I wish you an amazing rest of the day. And I can assure you that you want to stay because the next speaker is amazing. Thank you so much.